Hey everyone! Online counseling is awesome. I know from personal experience that it can really help. But how are your potential online counseling clients going to find out that you offer it and just how awesome it is? Today we're going to talk exactly about that, about marketing your online counseling services. Let's talk. Today my guest is Clay Cockrell. Clay is the founder of OnlineCounseling.com, a global therapist directory specifically for online counselors. Clay is also the charismatic host of the Online Counseling Podcast, which interviews mental health professionals who have taken their practice online. With over 20 years of experience, Clay is also a therapist himself who practices both in person and online too. Clay will be sharing insights to help you market your online counseling services. We discuss if marketing online counseling services is different than marketing face-to-face services, how much educational material a therapist should be putting out there to help clients discover online counseling, tips for standing out to your best fit clients on directories, the importance of having a niche for marketing online counseling services, and the one thing that you can do right now to start marketing your online counseling services. Let's talk. Hi, Clay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Kat, it's a thrill. I've really been looking forward to this.
Yay. So, when I think of online marketing, online counseling, I think immediately of you. You
That's good.
have, yes, I mean, you have started the online counseling directory. And so, one thing that I'm very curious to dig in with you about today is how to market an online counseling practice or online marketing. I keep on saying online marketing, probably because I'm an online marketing nerd.
That's it.
So online counseling, how do we market it? Is basically what I want to dig into. So first of all, is online therapy service marketing different than marketing a face-to-face service? Because I know you've done both.
hmm And there are so many similarities. You are showing who you are, and you're creating a voice online so that, I have a blog and I have a podcast, and then when clients actually find me, whether it's face to face here in New York or online, they already have a sense of who I am. So that's one of those basics in marketing that, regardless of your business, is really important, that your clients know your voice and your point of view. So there's a lot of similarities with blogging, um, and optimization and all that type of stuff. There's a few tweaks when it comes to online counseling. One is that I think it's important to have at least a page on your site that says, hey, I also do this. Or if you only do that, and I talk to a lot of therapists that have a 100% online practice, that's right up front. It's either in your domain name, or it's right there in the name of your practice, that I do online therapy, so that you educate the client right away. So you can talk about on your page about the benefits, that there are different types of people. So again, you're speaking to that client. There are different types of people that look for telemental health, online counseling. And we can talk about, I think there's 54 different terms for this. It's e-counseling, video therapy, and I mean, there's all sorts of different terms for it. So you talk about that it's convenient. There are people in rural areas that don't have access to care, people that are agoraphobic, people are really busy and can't get away, or they don't have childcare, or they're a specialist that they are looking for is not in their area, or they're expats that live abroad and don't have perhaps an English speaking, or whatever language whatever language you speak is not available to them. So you speak to them, and of course, it's also, and this is again the same as face to face, you need to have a niche. You need to have a target audience of who you work with and find out where they are. If you work with expats and your specialty is expats, you need to speak to them and where are they? What are the sites that they're going to and advertise there so that they can find you? So while there's a lot of similarities in educating uh, the client about what you do and why they would want to work with you and showing all the benefits, um, there's little tweaks of you know how this is different. You also want to speak to their concerns. Is this confidential? And what happens with what kind of technology do I need to use? Because while it's becoming more and more acceptable and people are beginning to look for online therapy, sometimes they're just looking for therapy and go, oh, I never thought, I could do this online. And you can see the change really in the demographic with age. Millennials do everything online. They are very comfortable in an online platform. We Gen Xers and baby boomers, it's a little clunky and a little new to us. So it's showing that this is an option. That's a long answer.
That was an awesome answer because you touched on so many different points, like what you need to do on your website, where you might need to find, like where do your ideal and best fit clients hang out, being where they hang out online. And you also brought up a few times the idea of education, and that was actually something I also wanted to ask you, because I feel like with online counseling, there's a little bit of an education barrier. We say education barrier in marketing. And what that means is that the audience or the clients that you're trying to reach may not always be aware, like what you said, of online counseling even being an option. So how much do you think, how important is that for an online counselor to be putting out that education piece on their website or just online when it comes to marketing?
I think it's really important,
Yeah.
and I like to use stats of
Mm.
the telemental health field is growing, and here are the stats. The Independent in the UK, the paper just came out, and I think in 2014 there were 9,000 people that were doing online counseling, and in 2015 it was 50,000. I mean, it's just growing so quickly. So you talk about how this is becoming more and more the norm. So you're normalizing this. Um, and also a big part, what I do on my marital counseling site, so I do marriage counseling online, I have a video. And in the video, I say, this is what it's like. You're seeing me on a screen. I'm talking to you. You're talking to me. And we are connecting through our computers. So it's like, it's so easy. They get the sense of what it's like. And that answers a lot of questions too. So I think video is really important in the design of either your online counseling page or your homepage.
Yeah, and also getting a sense of what the in session piece will feel like specifically with you, right? Because it's different to have a
Right,
concept of, oh, that's what online counseling is about. And
right,
another thing to actually see the therapist on the screen talking as you might during a session. That's a really good
right.
idea.
And putting yourself in the seat of the client that is looking for this. I have a little tip sheet that I give clients, and I also have it in my frequently asked questions of all the questions that they would be asking. Like, you need to download this program. I recommend that you close out all your browsers so that you can dedicate all your broadband to this platform. I think it's also a tip is to use earbuds because that helps with the connection. I don't know why, but it does. And the tips on lighting. Don't use a mobile device because sometimes a mobile device doesn't allow if we're doing a three-way. If the couple is not together and we're doing a three-way conference call.
Mm.
Sometimes mobile devices. So I've got these little tips. It's going to answer all their questions and make it easy, so that it's that Amazon one click. Yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, so you kind of remove some of the barrier in terms of the technology as well, because I'm
Absolutely.
sure that that's like as you went through that list of things, it was like, oh man, I never even thought about, like, oh, you need to have headphones with you, and oh, like if you're traveling, maybe it's better to have a laptop with you than using
Mhm.
like a mobile device that only has like 3G and no data, or no data and only a bad Wi-Fi or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, so that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So with all of this marketing stuff that you can do for your counseling, online counseling, one thing I often think about is how traffic can arrive to a counselor's website. And one of the great ways that you can generate traffic is by listing on a directory. And so, of course, I have to ask you about the online counseling directory. And also, specifically, I want to know, do you have any tips or advice for creating a profile on a directory like the online counseling directory?
Absolutely. So I started this because I had this marriage counseling online, and my wife and I love to travel. So having my face-to-face practice here in New York, if I was gone for a week, I didn't make money for a week. So now I'm able to travel for a month, 6 weeks, and take my practice with me. So that's why I started this, and a lot of therapists I think are drawn to that. So when I needed to refer, like maybe the husband needed his own individual therapist, and the only way that he could do that was to get online counseling. There was no bucket out there. There's no directory that said, here are all the therapists that are doing online counseling. So I went, okay, let's create one. So this is a way for therapists who are doing more and more of this to advertise their practice. And of course, I based it on the model of the granddaddy out there, which is Psychology Today. Everybody lists their practice on Psychology Today, or maybe Good Therapy. They're really good at what they do, but they don't have a way of weeding out only the therapists that do online counseling. So just like with Psychology Today, it's important to create a profile that's going to speak to your client. You have an engaging picture, and we have an option of having two pictures. So there's your profile picture, your face, but then just like on Facebook, you can have kind of a banner. So you can have a picture of your office, or a picture of a beach, or something that kind of reflects your approach. And then there is a listing of all the different specialties. And we also have the option, we require that you do the top three, so that you do all these things. We all have, eclectic approaches, but we have three that we're really good at, that we have a heart for. And so that's important to choose those according to your niche. And then in your bio, talk to them. I see so many bios that say, I have an education from this, I am trained here, my approach is cognitive behavioral therapy. Clients don't care. I mean, they do, and you can put that in there a little bit. But first you say, are you suffering from depression? Is it hard for you to get up in the morning? Are you struggling with your relationship and want to take it to the next level? Here is how I work with clients like that all the time. So you talk to them, and specifically the struggles that that they're challenged by. So that's so important. And yeah, you want to talk a little bit about you, but talking about your training and your approach and your papers that you published, it's just not helpful. They want a person. They want a real person. We do all of that background check. So the client knows that the people listed there are trained, are certified, have the education. So you don't have to go through all of that. We've already told them you're only going to get the trained and certified people.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, that's really cool for the users that are using the website to find services, because that could be a
Hmm.
huge concern, especially with online services. I guess that's another thing that they might be nervous about, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, that you're not getting some charlatan. And
Mm.
what's been challenged for us is that every country is different. I mean, we're a global listing practice. So, in the US, we have this concept of licensure, and Canada is the same way, where it's licensed by the state. But outside of that area, it's more of a certification and accreditation that you can call yourself a therapist and just hang out a shingle in the UK or Australia or places like that. But unless you have to be accredited by the British Association of Counseling Professionals, and I'm not sure if I got that correctly. It's the BACP.
Yeah.
And in order to be a part of that body, just like the NASW here in the US, you have to have the education and take the test and
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. So we make sure that only trained and certified people are going to be listed there, so that there's a sense of confidence.
That's awesome. That's really
You know,
awesome. And I loved your
it's a
tips
lot.
about, huh?
it's a lot of learning, that
Yeah.
how they do it in the UK, how do they do it in Ireland, how do they do it in Australia, so
You have like a massive list of all of these things.
yeah, I've got all the sites so that they have to send me their accreditation and their licensure or whatever, and then I have to go to that site and double check is it there, and so it's fun learning about different countries.
No, that's super awesome. But it's such, I mean, thank you for that service. That's such a great service to the world of people that are looking for online counseling, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that we hope to add value to the field and to grow the field. And that's a big part of what we do too, is education to therapists who are concerned about, how do I do this? Is it legal? Is it ethical? So we do a lot of education on how to be legal and follow the regulations. The US is incredibly complicated. So we do a lot of education pieces like that. A quick story: when I launched this, which was just a year ago, at the Psychotherapy Networker Symposium, which is this huge, all these therapists go to DC and they have a weekend long of seminars. And my wife and I said, we're going to be a vendor. So we set up a booth and got a banner and postcards and everything. And I'd never been a vendor before. So the therapists are all day long in these symposiums. And then they open up the vendor hall and all these other people that are selling, note taking and books and all this other stuff. The symposium that they were in just prior to opening up the vendor hall was the dangers of online counseling. Yes. So and I'm right there at the beginning. I got this corner table. They opened the doors, and it was Clay, and I was like I was the devil, like ooh. So right off the bat, we were having to combat a lot of incorrect and inaccurate information.
Your podcast is actually awesome. I was on it.
Yes, you were.
It was so much fun. And I remember too, like, we were talking about my experience with online counseling, and then we also had this moment where we were really connecting over therapists having a niche. So that was actually something else that I wanted to ask you about, like how you've mentioned it a few times already, but how important or helpful is it for an online counselor or therapist to have a niche and put themselves out there with a specialty like that?
It's really important because you're not limiting yourself. You're defining yourself and you're defining your strengths. People are going to be drawn to someone who's an expert in something. And you may be an expert in something that they want something else. They'll still come to you because they know you have honed your approach. And there's so many different ways of doing that. I mean, you think of people who travel, executives who are always on the road. That's a wonderful. Who are the people that are looking for online counseling? People in rural areas. I love the story of Buck Black, the trucker therapist. He was one of my first people on the podcast. He specializes in truckers, these long haul 18-wheelers. They're always gone from their families. It's an incredibly stressful job. And he just loves truckers since he was a little boy. So he just knows that world and he's specialized. And he says, this is one of the populations out there that need this. I'm going to specialize in it. Now, other people come to see him, but he has this niche that he has defined for himself as the expert for people in that industry. It's brilliant.
It's so awesome. I love it. One thing I really love to ask in these sessions is kind of for a golden nugget, an actionable step that a therapist watching could take right now. So what's one thing that a therapist could do if they want to start in the direction of marketing their online counseling services?
Well, selfishly, I would say sign up for the online counseling directory uh, because, we can begin bringing clients your way. But I guess what I would say is if you're new to this, information is power. And there's a lot of information, both on my site, the Therapist Toolbox, but also there's a service out of the UK called the Online Therapy Hub. And Jeff Simons is doing wonderful work out there. So it's the Private Practice Hub, and then there's a button on there called the Online Therapy Hub. And what they do is they do a lot of education about online therapy around the world. And they also have this really cool thing that I'm a little jealous and I might steal, is that they go and review the different platforms out there that therapists can use that are HIPAA compliant and encrypted to connect with their clients. So, most people don't use Skype because it's not HIPAA compliant. But there are, Doxyme and VC and Zoom, and there's all sorts of wonderful programs that are cheap or free. And what they do is they go and they review each one and they, you know, tinker around in it and they say it works good on Macs or it doesn't work good on PCs and it's got a calendar function that's a little good or a little wonky. We Counsel, I always want to give out a shout to Harrison and my friends down in Tennessee at We Counsel. They're wonderful at what they do. So yeah, that's a nice hub is ours, the onlinecounseling.com, but also the private practice hub in the UK has an online therapy hub and they've got a lot of good information too. Information is power.
Yeah, that's really the first step.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've shared so much amazing information with us today. Where can people find you online besides the online counseling directory or in addition?
Well, I do something a little different is I walk with my clients. So here in New York, so it's walkandtalk.com. My marriage counseling site is maritalcounseling.com. And of course, the directory is onlinecounseling.com. And that's spelled with one L and two L's because outside the US, people spell counseling with two L's. So we got both domain names. And I'll be paying for that until I retire.
And you also told
yes,
me that you have a special event going on. Is it an event or?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, first we I try to price the directory to where it's affordable to people. So it's $24.95 a month. But we just reduced that if you sign up for a year and you pay up front, it goes down to $12.47 a month. Now, I don't think that I can keep that going for very long, but we hope to keep it going for as long as possible to get some therapists to sign up. But this is what I'm really excited about. A lot of the members have been talking to me, and I've been reading a lot in the media about the concern of anxiety around the world due to political changes. Here in the US, we have Trump and the changes that he's bringing. We have Brexit. We have the French presidential election that's happening. Italy, around the world, people are struggling with a lot of political changes, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. So I went to the members and said, "Would you be willing to volunteer 2 sessions to anyone who wants them?" And I was overwhelmed with the people who said, "Yes, sign me up. I want to help." Because we all have little pockets in our day that we do either sliding scale fee or we have some slots open that we could give back to the community. And there's so much anxiety about that. And this is on both sides of this political spectrum. Liberals feel like the world is falling apart and we're going toward fascism. Conservatives are feeling disrespected and angry. Everyone is really anxious and worried and fearful. So this was a way for us at the directory to maybe have some kind of small impact, teach some coping skills, some anxiety reduction techniques to help people begin to cope with some of the changes. So we call it the Anti-Political Anxiety Campaign, and people can go there and click on a button and you get 2 free sessions with anyone you want to kind of coach through some of these difficult times.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Another great service that you're providing the world.
Hope so. I hope
Oh,
so.
well, it was so great talking with you. Thank you
You
so much for
too.
coming.
I so appreciate all the work that you do. I always think of you as this great champion, kind of from outside the therapy world, that understands us, that has a heart for what we do, and wants to enable us. And I always send people your way. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. Thank you.
Good.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Clay shared some absolutely awesome tips with us today. To get notes and links from today's session, you can do so on my blog at catlove.com/session13. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.